Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for today's Healthline. I'm Courtney Butts. Healthline 3 is a 30-minute conversation where we like to focus on ways to help you live a healthier, happier, and pain-free life. We'll be taking your calls and answering any questions that you have live in the studio today. Those phone lines are not yet open. They'll be open in a couple of minutes, and we'll remind you when they are. But when you do call, make sure you're in a quiet room with your TV turned all the way down so we can clearly hear your question. That number to call is 318-219-4569. Today's topic is athletic trainers and sport injuries. Joining me for today's Healthline is athletic trainer supervisor Brian Rockett with Willis Knighton Sports Medicine. Thanks for being here.
How are you?
Great. I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm well.
Happy Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is probably, maybe winding down. Some part of your, big hard-hitting season is probably football season, I'm assuming, as an athletic trainer. Would you agree?
Yeah, football is definitely a bear to go through. Some of our busiest seasons, though, are actually during this time right now when basketball, soccer, cross-country just finished up, football is just finishing up, and then you're going into indoor tracks coming up in January, so they're ramping up, getting ready to go. And then baseball, softball have already started doing some of their stuff. So really and truly, like our really busiest season right now in Louisiana is from when basketball and soccer really kick off, and then you've got powerlifting inside of there as well. So it's and wrestling.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so actually it is a very busy season for you, in addition to the craziness of the holidays too. So you're an athletic trainer, you're the athletic trainer supervisor.
Yes,
so tell us, and for those that don't know, some people think, okay, athletic trainer, it sounds like self-explanatory, but there's also a lot more that goes into it, especially in the healthcare setting.
Yes, ma'am, there is. So we work underneath a licensed physician, and we are a specialized or a skilled healthcare provider that specializes in injury and illness prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and rehabilitation for a specialized group within the schools, clinics, and professional sports, not only athletes, but general population too. And then we provide those things such as, providing emergency response care, providing acute injuries, and rehabilitation for injuries, and providing also wellness education to this population. Very
interesting. Yeah, and I think that's maybe a misconception. Many people don't know that you do operate under a physician, and that is regulated by Louisiana law. Is that pretty similar across all 50 states too?
Yeah. So we have a national certification that we actually have, and we hold that. And then each individual state has their own bylaws that they have. So like Louisiana has, we're underneath the Louisiana State Board of Medical Examiners. Okay. And then in different states, it's underneath whatever their examiner is at that point.
Very interesting. Yeah. So we're talking about athletic trainers and sports injuries, especially like you said, it's kicking off that busy season.
Yes, ma'am.
And how we can keep our kids safe that are involved in sports, but then also for someone that just generally likes to move their body, that these injuries can also happen as well.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. So a lot of these injuries happen multitude times, with our athletes, especially in the high school level, we always are emphasizing with them, hey, make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure that you're hydrating properly, make sure you're getting enough food, as far as caloric intake is done, eating your 3 meals a day, because, football requires more than what, baseball does, but at the end of the day, they have to make sure that they're eating the right proper things, making sure they're taking care of their bodies. If they have anything, that's nagging them or bothering them, hey, come and talk to me. Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do to help you. Or it might be something really simple like, okay, hey, maybe we need to go and set up a good stretching routine for you. So let's do that, and so let's get through with what we need to do there.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, being an athletic trainer, you're working with the schools, and so how does that relationship work with Willis Knighton? But you also mentioned in the midday newscast mud bugs as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Willis Knighton, we provide an athletic trainer for our partners within the community. So those athletic trainers go to their designated sites and work with those athletic programs to provide the best health care possible for those individuals and the athletes so that they can keep them healthy and safe throughout their seasons.
Yeah, and how long has that these partnerships with with Willis Knighton been in place? I mean,
Oh, goodness gracious. We have now been partners, especially with like Caddo Parish, for over 15, almost 20 years, somewhere around in there. I don't know the exact date. I
Right.
can't.
Yeah, I can
So-
imagine that, it's probably improved a lot of these kids' outcomes as well. If there wasn't this, like you being that supervisor or that middleman of, just ensuring that these kids are being as safe as they possibly can be, I'm sure there would be a lot more injuries or, things that they'd
Yes,
be worried
ma'am.
about.
I mean, it's good to have the athletic trainer, kind of the voice of reason there sometimes. And our coaches are really great about leaning in on our athletic trainers and saying, hey, so-and-so is injured. I really need to know
Yeah.
what's going on, and it's good for us because we're able to look at that individual and determine, okay, is this something that we can in-house rehab? Is it something we can take care of, and help get them back into a return to play protocol? Or is it something they need to go to somewhere more specialized? Do they
Right.
need to go and see an orthopedic because they have something that's going on that possibly could need higher imaging, like X-rays, MRIs, or CTs, or something of that nature? So we have that ability, within our skill set to be able to determine those things and help guide the parents and that athlete toward that avenue.
Right, yeah, and a misconception that I personally had was I was under the impression that you only worked with, orthopedic surgeons, but that's not necessarily the case.
No, ma'am, that's not
Yeah.
that's not exactly true. So yes, our medical director is Dr. Callanan, and he is our orthopedic surgeon, and he's over our medical directory. But we also work with a non-op ortho that is, he does our concussion management, and then we also work with some neurosurgeons that help us with concussion management. We have GPs that work with us, ENTs that work underneath us work with us as well, not underneath us, but works with us as well, so that we can help provide the best care for all of our athletes. So it makes it a really nice group and really great entities to be able to have a number to be able to call, like you have something like a fractured nose, that you know you've got somebody that you can call and say, hey, I have this, what can we do?
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, what has been the most rewarding part of being an athletic trainer?
So I love working in the high schools. And the reason is because you get to watch a kid going from to be a freshman to go in to be a senior, and watch the change that goes along with them, and then see that individual maybe go on to go play college. Like there's one individual recently that comes to mind that I got to watch him go from a freshman, and he just got his opportunity to go into the NFL.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
So, it's really, really fun to be able to do that and see these individuals. And I've been doing it long enough now where like there are people that are out there that were former athletes that now have families, and they have young ones and everything else. And so it's very rewarding getting to do that, and knowing that, okay, I was able to help that individual out during their season, to be able to help get them through their season so that they were able to progress on and move on.
Yeah, it seems
from
like it's
there.
a great career for someone who maybe loved sports, maybe growing up, and maybe wanted to do something along the lines of coaching, but it's maybe a little bit more of that science, medical, health background.
Yes, ma'am. It definitely much more is. It's great for the individual that loves sports, that wants to be around sports,
Yeah.
but wants that medical knowledge to be able to help individuals.
Absolutely, yeah. So with what you do with Willis Knighton, what are those most common injuries that you treat time and time again, maybe during the sports season or just in general?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a weird question because each season's a little bit different.
Okay.
So, but orthopedic injuries, we always see strains, sprains, fractures. We always get all of that throughout all of the seasons. It doesn't really matter which season it is. But most real common injuries that we always see throughout all of the sports are ankle sprains. We see a lot of those. We see a lot of shoulder issues going on, low back issues. And some of it has to do, with just mechanics, and we're able to help those individuals out by rehab, by setting up different strengthening programs for them, stretching programs for them, and then like ankle injuries, we're able to help set up rehab for them to be able to help get them and progress them so that proprioception returns and their balance returns and their strength returns, so that they can go back out and return to the field safely, so that they can participate again.
Okay, well then maybe the common sports. Okay, so we have football, that's a big one in the area, and then also the ones that are the sports that are happening right now. What are those common injuries that you see?
So, for football, we see a lot of contusions. We see a lot of knee injuries, ankle injuries coming in, just because it's such a violent sport. It's such a high contact sport. We get a lot of AC sprains that come in. Just because of the repetitive hitting over and over and over and over again. We actually see we see quite a few concussions throughout the year, which we have an individual that's on our staff, Dr. Lee. He helps out with our concussion management with a lot of our athletes, and also Dr. Reeves and Dr. Hefner also help out with our concussion management. And so, through football, that's the biggest things are probably knees, ankles, and concussions and shoulders are the biggest things that we see with them. Right now, we're going into basketball, so and wrestling and soccer, and same thing. We still see a lot of ankle injuries that come in with that, but we still see a lot of contusions too, because they're running around kicking. That's why they wear their shin guards.
Okay,
are supposed to wear their shin guards. So they don't get kicked and get bruised up real bad. We don't see many shoulder injuries or things of that nature within soccer, but wrestling we kind of do. Basketball is kind of a gamut. We get a multitude of different things, like with ankles and knees.
Right.
We can have anything from just an ankle sprain to an ACL tear. Not many shoulder injuries, but we do get them every now and then. So and some bruising and things like that, and strains. Pulled muscles, that always happens in every sport.
Right.
It doesn't really matter which sport you're in, just individuals that just happen sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm sure like you said, the more contact sports, you're going to see maybe a wide variety or maybe even more serious injuries. But then something like baseball, you might see more like overuse and like the same pulled muscles and those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely in baseball we see a lot more overuse because the repetitive throwing over the head, a lot of times that tends to happen. So whereas in football, it's good. Most of the time if they get injured, it's because it was a high collision, high contact injury.
Yeah. When you think what about hockey? Is that would you see a lot of concussions with that as well, or?
We do see it. Within hockey, though, the same thing. Yeah, we see some concussions. We also see, same things with fractures and sprains. With a lot of the gear that they wear, it helps out.
Yeah.
But it still happens.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure with working with high school and kids, I don't like to say kids, but the young folks.
Yeah, young athletes.
They seem to be, have that mindset of like, I'm invincible. Do you feel like that kind of plays into some of these injuries?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
You kind of have to learn to help conversate with that individual and explain to them like, hey, look, you've got a long life ahead of you. These things could, change the rest of your life forever. So, and it's good to be able to have that conversation with them and saying, hey, look, these are the things we need to do. Let's try this. Let's try to get better. Let's remember this is a short period of your life. Let's get that fixed first and then be able to have a long, happy life.
Yeah, always having that perspective. I'm sure it's maybe that in some ways can be difficult, especially if you're dealing with an athlete that has a pretty debilitating injury, and doing the rehab needed for that injury, like an ACL tear or something that can take a long time. It can be, difficult mentally.
It really is, and we see it more and more often now, especially psychologically with athletes. They get that injury and they think their life is over, and I've gotten injured and I'm not really sure what to do. And you're able to really kind of conversate with them and talk with them and say, hey, look, this is the process. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do to make it better, and try to help you out and just help push them in that good direction. And it really does make a big difference to those individuals.
Right, yeah. And so for those that maybe are entering into the off season, what are some tips that you can give these athletes to stay healthy year round?
So, the biggest thing, same thing, making sure they're getting enough sleep. They've got to get, the magic number, they quote unquote, is say 8. Some people require 8, some people require a little less, some people require just a little bit more. Everybody has a magic sleep number, but, recommended of 8 hours of sleep every day, making sure they get enough calories, eating 3 meals a day, getting into a good stretching program, making sure that they're going through a strengthening program off season so that they can get their bodies healthy again,
Yeah.
and those things.
Yeah. So kind of your typical things that everybody says, but sometimes we don't really listen to.
That's right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. But it's really important, especially for these athletes, and even in the off season. You have to be just as good in the off season when you're in game mode and all that. So what about kind of shifting gears just for slightly, but for the weekend warriors, like you mentioned in our midday newscast, that you get calls from these people, adults, and people that are maybe approaching middle age too, like the workout enthusiast this season. What are some of those tips that you would give even those people?
Yeah, well, even those individuals, same thing, just making sure, the sleep, making sure you're eating right, making sure you're doing the right things so that your body is ready to be able to go and do those activities, make sure you warm up well. That's a lot of things. Like, I'm much older. I've realized I've got to start stretching more again. You lose a lot of that, making sure your balance proprioception is where it needs to be. And just making sure you're ready to go and play those games on the weekend. So
yeah, and with the cold weather, you mentioned like warming up is so important. Yes. Can you talk about like the body mechanics behind like the importance of warming up and why you don't want to skip it, especially maybe when your joints are cold?
Yeah, so I mean, when you're out there and you go and you just try to jump into working out, a lot of times your muscles are, not warm and ready to go. And that's even during the hot time of the year. They really just need to get out there, do some calisthenics, kind of get the blood flowing, making sure that your body's working ready to go. Neurologically, the muscles are firing like they're supposed to be. So your proprioception is working correctly so that when you get out there and you're ready to start playing, your body's ready to go at that point.
Yeah. And so for these, individuals that you work with that are athletes versus the workout enthusiasts, the weekend warriors, what have you, do you see a difference in the types of injuries in those populations?
Well, because most of them aren't playing football, so or hockey.
Right.
So yeah, definitely different there. But as far as your general people that are going to go run, or they're going and they're playing pickup basketball, or they're playing pickleball, or they're playing tennis, a lot of those injuries, no, they're generally about the same.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And then if somebody is wanting to, anybody that's going to start a new movement, there could be someone that's maybe prone to injury if you're not used to performing that movement, or even an athlete if it's been a long time since they've been in the weight room. What are some tips that you have so they don't either have an injury, or preventing those injuries that could potentially make them sit out for a little while?
Yeah, start slow.
Okay.
Definitely start slow and work your way up. Don't get back in there and jump in and think, okay, I used to lift 500 pounds squatting. I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna jump underneath the bar and I'm gonna do that again. That's not gonna happen. So just start slow, work on your range of motion, work on your stability, make sure that you're prepared, you're ready to do stuff like that, and progress into whatever workout program you're wanting to do, or whatever sport you're wanting to go play. Just start out slow and get your body used to doing those movements again.
Right, and maybe the pride too, kind of putting your pride aside. Do you feel like there's a lot of psychological components that play into exercise in general?
I could speak for myself. I'm not as spry as I used to be, let's be honest. So, you think you can still do what you used to do, and unfortunately, I know well that my body does not do that anymore. And you have to be cognizant of what that is and say, okay, all right, I need to make sure that what I'm doing, I'm capable of doing. Right,
yeah, and you can still get a good workout, a good exercise session, and while being mindful, because I think that it's better to not push it or push your limits, so you can still enjoy and still come back the next day.
Right, exactly. So you don't roll out of the bed the next morning and go,
oh.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Right, yeah, because I think a lot of people, thinking of the new year, a lot of people are going to start a new workout program, and maybe it's a little too strenuous, and then we all know that feeling of feeling extra sore, and then it's like you can't even physically do anything for the next week, you know, and so it's like, what's the point of doing that really hard workout if you can't go back the next day?
Right.
You know, so, okay, so what about a recovery? You know, how important is recovery and getting back out there?
So recovery is hugely important, and you know, and we preach that to our coaches, also for our athletes. You know that there are days that they do need to recover, and our coaches are really good about that too. So you know they set up ice baths for the girls. They let them come in, our guys, and then they let them come in and you know say, okay, hey, so and so's got this going on. What can we do to kind of help them out? You know, so you know, recovery is a huge portion of actually making gains into whatever you're wanting to do, especially in the athletic world. So they have to understand that they have to give them, you know, those days so that their body can naturally recover, so that they can be ready to go the next day to be able to practice. You know, stretching routines. Again, making sure that they're hydrating really well. So you know, hydration is a huge component. So for athletes, you know, there's a rule that is, if you're a 160-pound person, you know, you should drink at least 80 ounces of water a day to help, at minimum, to help you continue to keep your fluid level up, so that your body has enough fluid so that you don't cramp, so that your muscles can function like they're supposed to. And then you also have to have electrolytes in your system so that you can go ahead and the nerve conduction system does what it's supposed to, and your muscles also don't cramp, also with all the electrolytes that are in there. So you know, those are big things to emphasize, and with their recovery, like, hey, you just had a hard workout, look, you know, make sure that you go home, you got to hydrate, you got to make sure you get your electrolytes back in your system so that your body can recover, it can help regenerate, it can help rebuild, so that you're ready to go ahead and perform the next day.
Yeah, so you said a 160-pound person needs 80 ounces, so that's half
at minimum. Yeah.
So that general rule is just half your body weight.
Half your body weight.
Ounces.
Like we usually tell our athletes that, you know, look, a gallon of water, because 80 ounces, it's 124 ounces in a gallon. So at a 160-pound person, well, you take, you know, a 300-pound lineman, well, I mean, that's a lot of water. So minimum, they're at least a gallon of water a day. They've got to drink at least a minimum of that.
Yeah, right. And then and that's just, like you said, a minimum. And that's not including the fluid loss when they're sweating that you would want to replace with the output.
Yeah.
So
and we've specifically talked to them too about making sure, hey, look, you've got to drink while you're also working out throughout the day. So you know, they say anywhere from 5 to 15 ounces while they're working every 15 minutes, and that's about 3 big gulps of water every 15 minutes while they're working out, to make sure that they're continuing to keep some of that fluid while they're working out also.
Yeah, and I've even seen where, you know, dehydration can mimic itself as hunger, and so that sometimes that can make you crave less desirable things, so then that's not really helping with nutrition, so water is just paramount. Talk about the electrolytes and what you recommend for your athletes.
So there's a multitude of the different things that electrolytes that you can help replace. Like, you know, they can get it from bananas, oranges, milk. They can get it with salty snacks like peanuts or anything like that. And then also they can use either sports drinks, some types of sports drinks, you know, whatever their brand is, whatever they would like to use is fine, but they need to do that so that they can help replenish all those potassiums and calciums and sodiums inside of their system, so that their system actually works properly. So water is fantastic, but if you also don't have the electrolytes, then your body doesn't function like it's supposed to. But then that's the opposite too. If all you're drinking is just sports drinks and just getting electrolytes, and you don't have the water, then your body can't move that stuff around like it's supposed to be able to function. Yeah,
so important. And would you say those symptoms of not prioritizing electrolytes are the cramps, the muscle cramps?
A lot of times, yeah, that's a double-edged sword. So sometimes the cramps, but like neurologically, like that, their bodies won't function properly, so their movements might not be as well. The water can contribute to the cramping. The electrolytes can contribute to the cramping, and actually overuse in where they fatigue, their muscles are fatiguing too fast, they can also cramp at that point.
Interesting. Yeah. So and that's why, again, it's important to have that athletic trainer to really be that sounding board, like you said, or that voice of reason to see what's going on and give those recommendations from there.
Right.
Yeah. So with kids, like small kids, I've seen it recommended that, you know, instead of like for example, somebody that's really interested in baseball, instead of them just overdoing it with baseball, it's important for them to have variety of exposure to different sports. Would you say that that's still a recommendation?
Absolutely. So, I'm a big proponent on let kids be kids and let them play whatever sports they want to play and be exposed to so many different sports. We've gotten into a realm where like we're trying to specialize so much, and then that's all they do is this, and do it year round, and it can lead to overuse injuries. But, it's good to allow those individuals to play multiple sports at a time. If you look at most of your professional athletes now and you look at what their resume is, most of them all played multiple sports. And so it's good to allow those individuals to do that so that they get exposure to different things, and then it also gives them a break between one sport to the next.
Yeah, and like you said, preventing the overuse. What are some of those overuse injuries that you commonly see?
I see a lot of patella tendonitis. We see a lot of that. We see a lot of thrower shoulder. They get a lot of bicep tendonitis. We see some of that. We see tennis elbow a lot with with our athletes. Those things can hinder those athletes because if they have bicep tendonitis and they're trying to throw it, well, it doesn't work because they can't throw because it's too painful.
Yeah.
Same thing with patella tendonitis. If they're trying to run, jump, do anything, it's just hurting so bad they just aren't able to function and aren't able to progress and do well. So those things can lead to serious issues as well, and we try to help prevent that by doing rehab with them, slowing them down, stop doing the throwing, let's modify what you're doing in practice, and do the specific rehabs to try to rebuild muscle structures and muscle patterns so that they can get better.
Yeah, great advice. So, the weather's been a little crazy this month.
All over the charts.
Right, and then next week, according to Brian, it's going to be a little bit warmer. So, how does weather play a role, especially I'm sure for these outdoor sports, when it's really cold and when it's really warm? What kind of factors are you thinking about as a trainer for these athletes?
So as an athletic trainer, we're always kind of monitoring the weather because, it's not even just cold and hot. There's lightning that takes into effect of it too, so you have to become cognizant of that too. But like during football season, when football starts and kicks off, we live in Louisiana, we live in the South, it's going to be hot, we know that. There's state laws that are put into place right now that help protect the athletes, because now we go off of what the wet bulb globe is, and we have to go off of what those temperatures are. So coaches have to be understanding like, hey, okay, it's too hot, we got to go inside of the gym just for the safety of the kids. And our coaches are really good about it. They do a great job making sure we keep up with it. So you might have to have 2 practice plans to get ready. Same thing with the cold weather. The parishes have done a great job of putting in policies and procedures for when it's too cold. If it's too cold, they're unable to play at a certain amount of time, or limited the amount of practices because we're worried about, the kids going into hypothermia. So we don't want that to happen as well. We also live in the South, so when it gets really cold, a lot of these kids aren't used to that. So we want to make sure that they're okay, and, saying, okay, hey, in the cold weather, hey, let's add another layer of clothing so that we can go out and you're going to be okay for a little while you're out there participating. And same thing in the hot weather. Hey, coach, it's too hot right now. We need to take XYZ off so that we can finish up practice and just go from there.
Yeah. Yep, and great safeguards for those kiddos. So if someone is interested in getting more information about the athletic training program with Willis Knighton, where can they find that information?
So it's on the website for Willis Knighton, and it's underneath the sports medicine.
All right, easy enough. And if somebody wanted to maybe work specific, like maybe get their athlete in touch with you or someone on your team, is that the same place that they would go as well, sports medicine with Willis
Yes,
Knighton?
it has a number that's on there, but also tell them to talk to their school and ask, well, hey, who's my athletic trainer? And let's get me in touch with my athletic trainer. I have an issue going on, so that I can talk to them about that injury.
All right, yeah, kind of, maybe a lot of these kids don't realize, or parents don't realize, that they do have that access to someone like you or a part of your team that can really help them and maybe even be like their advocate, or like you said, their voice of reason, for their injuries. So thanks so much, Brian, for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If you missed this will be on our website. That's ktbs.com/podcast.